Alright guys, let me get this started here. Sorry, I had the countdown already going because I was running tests. Hey, just a YouTuber, bruh. What's up, buddy? How you doing, Lou? Hope this is Lou. Hey, Hawk the Fam James, what is up? Ray the Fam, Dire of Her Mind. We got Angel Muniz, what is going on? Kelsey's Paranormal's in the house. Welcome, thank you so much for joining. Alright, Lou, I'll teach you how to set this up like this, man. Takes a lot of hard work and patience. Tammy Burgess Rock Fam is in the house. Welcome, guys. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining. We're going to be getting started here just shortly. Oh, thank you, West Haven. Appreciate it. Thank you, everybody who's joining me so far. Welcome to the stream. You guys rock. Sharing this out on social media, guys. Alrighty, guys. We're getting started here, yo. Be going live in 2 minutes, just getting everything prepared. Go check each other out, you guys. Tina Stewart's in the house. Eric Garcia. Hawk the Fam's wife. We have Night Lover. What is going on? Dory, thank you so much for joining. Irish Whiskey Paranormal is in the house. Just a YouTuber, bruh. Kenneth the Kentucky Fam. Got a pretty good group of people in here, guys. Keep spreading the word. We're about to do scary ghost stories to chill you to the bone tonight. Tracy Evans, thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. I really appreciate that. That is awesome. Got the sharpshooter in the house. Alrighty, guys, we are about to go live here on HSFL Paranormal in 30 seconds. I think we got this pretty well shared out here, guys. Alrighty, you guys, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining, guys. I really appreciate it. We are up to 150 members on the new FAMZ page, which is amazing. So thank you guys so much for all of your support. Welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you get ready to listen to some really scary stories tonight.
Johnny, your window's closed, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And guys, I got shht by my mother. She's the dictator here right now. Let's see. Getting there. Alright. Cool. I got this all shared out. So, let's see here what we have. We have 21 people in the house right now. Thank you so much, guys. I hope you're liking the new layout. This is just another test run to see how you guys like it. Let me know in the comment section. How's my volume? Just let me know, guys. I need as much feedback as possible. Just kind of always experimenting with my channel and the different texts and all that stuff. So just... Hey, what's going on, Dravos? Is it Dravos? Sorry, did I missay it? Davros von Scaro. There we go. Aw, thank you, Dory. I really appreciate it. Everything's awesome. Sounds good. Perfect. I'm ready for you to whisper sweet nothings in my ear. I mean, some freaky stuff in my ear. Oh my god, that doesn't sound right. ... Hey, Sharpshooter, how you doing, brother? Much love. This is awesome. 23 people already in the house, guys. Make sure you share this out on social media so everybody can join in on the fun. It's going to be an exciting night tonight. Awesome. So we are going live right now, and we're gonna go get some scary stories here. Perfect. Got that up already. Let's see how the stream's health is doing. We're doing pretty dandy right now, so I'm happy with that. All good here. I'm glad to hear that. Alrighty. And yeah, exactly. Alright, let's do some scary stories. Alright, scary stories. Yeah, I'm not doing a 16-minute read. That is quite the long time of reading something. Let's do this one. This one is called The Bride. A young couple got married, and after the wedding, they held a reception at the bride's grandmother's house. All of the family's friends had arrived, and they started to laugh and dance and sing. After the wedding reception, the guests decided to play a game of hide-and-go-seek. The groom covered his eyes and began to count to 100 while his new bride and the other guests ran out of the room. Eventually, the groom had found everybody except for his bride. The other guests began to call out her name and search everywhere for the young woman. They began to grow more and more uneasy and could not find any trace of her. Eventually, they gave up searching. Eventually, they gave up searching, and everybody assumed that the girl had ran away and left her husband. As the weeks went by, the husband accepted that his beautiful bride must have had second thoughts about the marriage. He decided to forget about his wife. Years later, a cleaning lady was dusting the attic, and she came across an old trunk. Out of curiosity, she opened it, and inside the trunk was the rotting corpse of a young woman, still dressed in a bridal gown. There was a wedding ring on one of her bony fingers. It was that of the missing bride. She must have hid it in the trunk and accidentally locked herself inside. It was impossible to tell whether she suffocated or starved to death, but her face was frozen in a silent scream. All right. Alrighty, guys. So that was the bride. All right. The dream. Hey, Kim Fitzgerald. Okay, no problem. So let's go. Hey, Native Grammy, how's it going? How did you guys like that story? Hey, Cryptid559 is in the house. Welcome. One night, in a small American town, a young girl threw a party and invited all of her friends from school. There was a large group of boys and girls, and they went. As the night went on, they began to tell their scary stories. One boy said he heard of an urban legend about an old graveyard that was located near the girl's house. According to the story, an old woman had been buried there in the middle of the cemetery, and the rumors had it that she was a witch. They say if someone stood on her grave at midnight, she would grab them and drag her down to hell. I would never go to that graveyard after dark, another boy said. You're all a bunch of morons, laughed the girl who owned the house. It's a silly superstition. You can't take it seriously. The boy who had told the story and sneered. It's all very well to be brave when you're safe and warm in your own house. I think you would have a different attitude if you actually went to the graveyard. It wouldn't make a difference, the girl hauntingly said. Okay, then prove it, said the boy. We'll all go down to the cemetery and wait outside while you go and stand on the old witch's grave. A grave doesn't scare me, said the girl. I'll do it right now. Hey, Mudcon's in the house. What is up? Shadows of the Moon. Hey, how's it going? Welcome. You'll have to prove you did it, said the boy. Otherwise, you might chicken out. He took a knife from his kitchen drawer and handed it to her. Stick this in the grave, then we'll know that you have been there for sure. The group of kids set out in the graveyard, and when they reached the old iron gates, they gathered in a circle. All of them stared at the girl. She tried to pretend that she wasn't scared. She hoped that they didn't see her shivering in fear. With the knife clutched tightly in her hand, the girl walked to the old iron gate and made her way through the darkened graveyard. In the moonlight, the tombstones and the trees cast strange, unnerving shadows. Eventually, she came to the old woman's grave. There was nothing to be scared of. the girl told herself. It's just a stupid story. Crouching in front of an old headstone, she whispered, I'm not afraid of you. Then she raised a knife above her hand and thrust it into the earth. That'll teach you, you old witch, she chuckled. The girl was about to turn and leave when she felt something hold her back. She couldn't move. Something was tugging on her dress and dragging her down. She was filled with terror and flew into a panic. Help! She's got me! She's got me! When she didn't come back, her friends got worried. After a while, they cautiously entered the graveyard to look for her. They found her sprawled across the old woman's grave. She was dead, and her face was frozen in a silent scream. Without realizing it, she plunged the knife into her skirt and had pinned herself to the ground. That is what was holding her. The poor girl was so terrified that her heart gave out, and she died from fright. Mudcon in the house. What is up? Pammy Clyde is in the house. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much, guys. Alrighty, guys. Gregman is in the house. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Alright. Got guests. Woo! We got 199 super chat. Thank you so much, Diary. Aw, that is so nice of you. Aw, getting ready for work. I hear you. Hey, Cynthia, how's it going? Welcome. Yes, thank you so much for the donation. I really appreciate it. That is awesome of you. All right. Yeah, I bet David's lurking. David, are you here? David Omen, are you here? All right, this one's called Sounds. A long time ago, there was a house that stood on the bay near Mobile, Alabama. It was known as Madison Mansion, and it had been vacant and boarded up for years. Most people in this area kept well away from it, frightened by its uncanny reputation. Anyone who passed by couldn't help but wonder what evil had transpired in the old place. Trespassers who dared to enter the old house usually fled the night, screaming, telling tales of grisly things that they had seen while they were inside of this abandoned place. One night, the fishermen were caught in a quick-moving storm and managed to make their way back onto shore. Drenched in the rain, they spotted the mansion and decided to take shelter in the rickety old place. Once inside, they made a fire in the fireplace to keep themselves warm and ate a cold supper. Then the three men pulled their oilskin coats tightly around them and lay on the floor to get some sleep. However, as they dozed off, they were plagued by terrible nightmares of treachery and murder. Laying awake, the men heard an unmistakable sound of footsteps. Coming from up the stairs, it sounded like more than one person marching back and forth. "Who's there?" said the fisherman. The footsteps finally stopped. They heard a woman scream. The scream turned out to be a groan and then died away. The house was quiet again, and just then the men who had called out felt something splash against his forehead. Something was dripping from the ceiling and forming a small red puddle on the floor. To their horror, the fishermen realized that it was blood. All of a sudden, the doors upstairs crashed open and shook with the sound of heavy footsteps. It sounded like a woman was being chased by a man. The frightened fishermen heard disembodied voices in the darkness. A man shouted in anger, A woman cried out in pain. They heard objects being flung here and there with a loud crash. Long howls of horrible laughter filled the house. It went on and on until the fishermen thought they would go mad, and then there was silence. The fishermen huddled together and listened. After a couple of minutes, they heard something coming down the stairs. It sounded like somebody was dragging something heavy that bumped with each rotten step. They scrapped the thumping noise and came through the front hall and then opened the doors. It sounded like something was being flung outside, landing with a thump among the leaves, and the door slammed shut. And again, there was silence. There was a thunderstorm outside, and the house trembled as it was about to collapse. Rain was pounding against the sagging walls, and the terrified fishermen could barely stay in the place for any longer, and they decided to flee. Just as they reached the door, a flash of lightning filled every room of the house with a green blaze, and one of the men saw a ghostly face staring from them from up the stairs. It was so horrible it looked like it was from hell itself, and then a crash of deafening thunder as the men tried to flee and run out of the house front and into the storm, never to return. Nobody ever knew what the terrible deeds had been done in that house, and the mansion was built shortly after the American Revolution by an Englishman named Madison, who was a rich recluse. He lived there with his daughter, who is said to have been mentally ill. Nobody ever saw the servants and kept well away from her. They never had any visitors and never went out. One day, without a warning, Madison suddenly fled for England and wrote to his servants instructing them to sell the house. The daughter was never found. She just disappeared. And after that, many times the house had changed hands, but nobody could stay for very long. Hey, Exploring with Spooky. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you're enjoying these stories. Thank you guys so much for joining me so far. Make sure to share this out. And I really appreciate everybody's support tonight. This is pretty awesome. I'm going to check on a couple things here. Rudy, thank you so much for joining the HSFL Facebook page. It's awesome. Got a couple of new members. Alrighty, guys. And exploring, let's see. Yet I can help my kiddos mental and math today. It hit me. It's a hit and miss with me today. I hear you. All right, the dead hand. The Dead Hand is a scary story. All right. There was a small village in Ireland that lay on the edge of the bog. The marshy land stretched from as far as the eye can see. Dotted with the small brushy woods, the skeletons of the tall, ragged trees and branches that reached out like long, twisted arms. The soggy ground could be dangerous because it was riddled with many deep bog holes that were filled with black, murky water. The bog holes were often hidden behind clumps of foliage, and it was important to watch your step. If a man accidentally fell down one of these bog holes, he would never come up again. It was a fearsome place. If all the tales about it were true, it was before my time, but I've heard many strange stories about the bog that make your skin crawl just to listen to them. Every day, men from the village went out to the bog and toiled for hours cutting the turf. They loaded it up into wheelbarrows and hauled it home to dry in the sun. They used the turf for fuel and burned it in the fireplace to heat their homes. They were able to sell it to make some money. Hey, Jenny Merceth is in the house. What is up? All right. But after the sun had set, nobody would dare venture into the darkness into that desolate bog. In the moonlight, the wind would whistle throughout the dead branches and the twisted trees. Those who listened nearby would often glimpse at strange shapes creeping along the deserted stretch of swamp. Isn't it Pete? They burned it, isn't it? I have no idea. They were rumors throughout the village that strange creatures from the bog holes at night. People were so afraid they refused to leave their homes after dark. And one of the persons in the village who did not believe in these creatures was a young man by the name of Tom Magnus. Everybody knew him as Long Tom. On his way home from work, as the light began to fade, he often whispered to his friends, "There's one." And they would jump and run, and Tom would laugh and laugh. Finally, some of his friends turned to him. "If you knew so much, why don't you go out into the bog some night and see what happens to you?" somebody asked Tom. "Fine, I'll do it," Long Tom said. "Sure. Don't I work out there every day? Not once have I ever seen anything out there that has frightened me." "Hey, Jay Lawler's in the house. What's up, buddy?" Don't I work out there every day? Never have I once seen something that'll frighten me. Why would it be different at night? Tomorrow night, I'll take my lantern, walk out to the hanging willow in the middle of the bog. If I get scared, I'll never make fun of you guys again. The night went on, and the men went to Long Tom McInnes's house to see him on his way. It was the blackest of black nights, and thick clouds obscured the moon, blocking the light. When they arrived, Tom's mother was pleading him not to go. "I'd be all right," he said. There's nothing to be afraid of. Don't be foolish like the rest." He took his lantern and sang to himself, heading down the path that led to the bog. Some of these young men wondered if Tom wasn't right. Maybe they were afraid that things did not. Maybe they were afraid of things that did not exist. A few of them decided to follow him and see for themselves, but they strayed far away from him just in case he got into trouble. They were sure that they saw dark shapes moving about, but Tom's kept bobbing up his head up and down. Then Tom's voice kept floating back to them, and nothing happened. Finally, they caught sight of the willow tree, and Tom was standing in the circle of light, looking that way, whistling a happy tune. All of a sudden, the candle in the lantern blew out. He suddenly stopped whistling. The men stood silent in the blackness, straining to see what would happen, to see if something awful might occur. When the clouds shifted and the moon peeked out, they caught a glimpse of Long Tom. His back was against the willow tree, and his arms were out in front of him as he was fighting something off. It seemed in the very blackness. It seemed like the very darkness was alive and slimy and creepy things. Strange shapes were swirling about, and all they could hear was the awful moaning sounds. Then the clouds covered the moon again, and it was once more black as pitch. By then, the men were on their knees praying for dear life, that the Virgin Mary and all the saints would protect them. When the moon came out again, Tom's face was pale as death, and he was desperately hanging onto the willow tree with one arm. His one arm stretched out in front of him, and something was pulling on it. It looked like a disembodied hand with rotting flesh dripping from his moldy bones. It had a grasp on poor Tom's arm. Stronger and stronger it pulled. At least Tom lost his grip on the tree and was dragged off into the night, shrieking like a soul in hell. That's what the men say before they witness Tom swallowed by the darkness. When the clouds blotted out the moon once before, the men turned and ran through the blackness towards the village. And again they lost the path and fell into the muck, struggling to avoid the deadly bog holes. At the end, they crawled back on their hands and knees, but Tom was not with them. In the morning, the people searched everywhere for Tom. Finally, they gave up and they felt lost. That evening, the villagers heard a cry. It was Tom's mother. She was rushing from the path of the bog, shouting and waving. When the villagers spotted her, she frantically gestured them to follow her. Struggling to overcome their fears, the villagers ran back after her and came to a stop to find young Tom McConnell slumped against the old willow tree, shaking and gibbering as he had lost his mind. His left hand was raised in the air, pointing at, and his wild eyes were staring at something only he could see. There was, where his right hand should have been, there was nothing but a bloody stump. It had been ripped clean off. Nobody ever knew what had happened or what he had seen. Some people claim that he was attacked by the dead, and others say that he was just the talk of drunken, superstitious fools. The only person who really knew what happened to him was Tom himself, but he never spoke a word again. He spent the life barricaded in his bedroom, shaking and trembling through the long nights. He didn't make it through the end of the year, and they lowered him into his grave. His grieving mother cried out to the people in the churchyard and begged them never to full-handedly venture into the cursed bog in the middle of the night. Hope everybody is enjoying these stories so far. Thank you so much for joining, guys. It's pretty awesome. It's always great to see everybody. Guys, please remember to share this out. Let everybody know the stream is going on. Those who love scary stories, these are amazing. So please go ahead and let everybody know. And I've tried to spread the word as much as possible. I've been promoting this pretty much all day. I'm going to go back through Twitter and retweet people's messages. Thank you, Terry Cope, Melanine, Jesse, let's see, sorry, let me go through this. Jenny Mercer, thank you so much for tweeting this out. We have West Haven sharing this out as well. Thank you so much. Sharpshooter, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And yeah, so that's everybody I see so far. If I miss anybody, please let me know. Alright. Kelsey's Paranormal, thank you so much for tweeting this out. I really appreciate it. Here we go. Awesome, awesome sauce. Alrighty, guys. There was an old woman who had no family still living. Her only friend was a little white dog who went with her wherever she went, with one exception. The dog loved the fireplace in the winter, and after the old woman had gone to bed, he would sometimes go lie in front of the warm coals. Usually, though, the dog slept at the very edge of the bed on the throw rug. The woman wouldn't allow the dog on the bed with her, and often because if she became frightened or had a nightmare, she would put her hand down on the little white dog and... The woman wouldn't allow the dog on the bed because if she was frightened or had a nightmare, she would put her hand down to have the little white dog and would lick her reassuringly. One night, the woman was reading a newspaper, and just before she went to sleep, she shivered and pulled over the comforter as she read about a mental patient who had wandered off from a nearby hospital. Nobody knew if the patient was dangerous or not. He was a suspect in many murders of several women who lived alone. The woman turned out the lights and went to sleep, but she was frightened and she tossed and turned. Finally, she reached down to where the little dog was sleeping, and sure enough, a wet tongue began to lick her hand. The woman felt reassured and safe, but her left hand was dangling off the bed as she turned and settled comfortably. She opened her eyes for a moment and looked through the door into the living room. There in front of the fireplace was sitting her little dog, gazing at the coals, wagging his tail. Down beside her bed, something else was still licking her hand. Yeah. No thanks. Scary. Let's do a little check up here, see how the stream's doing. $36 likes. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. Seems like everything's going pretty dang well. Thank you, James. Yeah, it's... Her hand was moist. I shouldn't say that. That's insensitive. Because that lady's probably dead. Yeah, make sure Baxter is beside me while I sleep so he can lick my hand. God. Totally. Do you guys like this layout better or the zombie look to it where it was a little more technical? This one's kind of cool because I get to put my new font on here with the HSFL Paranormal and the Keep It Spooky, and it's kind of all the same theme. Whoa! We got $5 super chat? Wow, thank you so much. Oh, you like this layout better. Awesome. Wow. Aw, thank you so much. I really appreciate that, Diary. Whoa, did you see that on the screen? Did it show a zombie for the $5 super chat? That was kind of cool. Also, if you buy merch from the HSFL Paranormal.live, it will show up right here that you purchased the merch. Hey, Tracy Garland, how's it going? Also, if you're a new person watching this stream and you subscribe to my channel, it'll broadcast your name across the stream. So, another cool thing. Oh, that is awesome. So cool to have everybody here. Been killing it lately. I wouldn't be calling killing it, but I appreciate that. I thought I was tripping, right? I kind of tripped out myself. I'm like, whoa, is that a zombie? That was pretty cool. All right, let's get another story rolling, eh? There was a butcher who ran a successful business. Everyone in town bought their meat in his shop. One day, the butcher discovered that somebody was stealing the meat from the storehouse behind his shop. Every night, one of his sides of pork chops would actually disappear. This was a real problem because it was causing him to lose too much money. So he decided to do something about it. One night, after he closed shop, he went into the storehouse. He switched off all the lights and stood in the darkness, clutching his meat cleaver, waiting for the thief to arrive. He didn't have to wait long, and soon a black cat came slinking in through a gap in the door, and it was the biggest cat he had ever seen. It jumped out and tried to pull down the leg of lamb that was hanging from the ceiling. The butcher switched on the lights, and the cat turned to stare at him. Instead of running away, it jumped at him and tried to bite him. The butcher was taken by surprise and swung his meat cleaver and chopped off one of the cat's paws. The cat let out a terrible shriek, started spitting and yowling and tearing out through the room. Then it disappeared from the door. Then it ran outside and disappeared. The butcher looked down and expected to see a cat's paw. Instead, he saw a woman's hand that had been severed at the wrist. It was wriggling around in a pool of its own blood. The next morning, the butcher was opening the shop, and one of the neighbors came down the road crying for help. He and his wife had been in an accident. One of his neighbors came running down the road crying for help, saying his wife had been in an accident. The butcher ran to the man's house to see if there was anything he could do. When he got there, he saw the wife sitting in the chair by the fire. She was clutching her arm, withering in pain. Her hand had been cut off, and there was nothing left but a bloody stump. The strangest thing is that she was spitting and yowling just like the cat. The butcher told everybody in town what he had seen, and that night they took the woman out to a deserted field and buried her alive because they knew she was a witch. Moist meat cleaver. Oh my god. That was a pretty scary story. All moist spelled it right. I bet you like to pause when he says something about meat cleaver. Right? Oh my god. I know. I don't mean to upset any of the cat fans, but it wasn't a cat, it was a witch. So there we go. She was an evil witch. What? I went offline. No. The stream shouldn't have ended. Wait, refresh your page, guys. What the hell? I went offline for a couple seconds? What, the moist word? Are we not allowed to say the word moist here? Does that make anybody uncomfortable other than Chris V? That happened twice? It's in and out? That's so weird. I shouldn't be having any issues. Oh, I have dropped frames tonight. You know what? I think I know what it is. Huh. But I don't want to screw things up. That's weird. It shouldn't be dropping frames. Oh, man. I think I know what it is, and in order for me to fix it... Hold on. Okay, I think I fixed it. It should drop the rate now. It shouldn't lag anymore. I think it was something to do with that, like, zombie guy. I hope that fixes the situation. That one just takes way too much. My mom timed me out. Yeah, I think that's strange. I think the zombie guy was actually from the previous session, or the previous source was causing it to lag out. I'm monitoring it right now and I don't see any issues at the moment, so I'm just going to continue with the stream and see where it's running. Hey, what's going on, Parahistory? How's it going? You changed your name. Awesome. It's Kelsey and Dyersall. Hold on. Bama, I need to make you... I don't know why you're not a mod on my channel, but you've been on with me since the beginning. Eileen K is in the house. Welcome. So we're getting some awesome views. Thank you guys. Trying to revamp the channel. Awesome. Hey, Simple Joys, how's it going? Welcome. Night Lover. Woo. Everybody's here. Cool. Hopefully I'm not running into any more issues. I don't think it's gonna lag anymore. I'm trying this new layout. I don't know why it's having issues. Seems like everything's running perfectly as it should. So, wow, we got 25 people back in the house. Thank you guys. Doing great here, thanks. How are you all doing? I'm doing fantastic. Yes, you are, James. Come on, man. But yes, I'm doing great. I worked for a little bit today, and then we had a blackout, and I decided to go home. We lost power to our whole dealership. And I was kind of stressed out, but not really. It was just kind of a weird situation. Divine K Raven is in the house. Cryptid559 is in the house as well. Thank you so much. It's awesome to see everybody. 26 people. Okay, let's get back to the stories now that we have some people, more people in here. Gabriel Fisher spent the evening at the pub with his little dog Trotty by his side. It was just after midnight when he finished his last drink and started to head home. Outside it was cold and frosty as it was silent as the grave. He thought he saw a figure moving up in the distance ahead. As the man walked down the road with his dog, he saw a woman that was walking ahead of him. She was carrying a basket on his shoulder, and it was covered in a white cloth. Hey, Paige, how's it going? When he caught up to her, he looked to see who it was, but it was dark, and she was bundled up against the cold. It was hard to see her face. Trotty started to growl at her. Good evening, Gabriel said. What brings you out so late? The woman did not answer. They walked outside in the silence for a while, and Gabriel said, May I carry your basket? Without a word, the woman took it off her shoulder and handed it to him. From inside the basket, he heard a small woman's voice say, Oh, that's very nice of you, and then was followed by wild laughter. No. Gabriel was so startled that he dropped the basket onto the ground. The white cloth slipped out and rolled the woman's severed head. He looked down at the head and stared at the woman. It's your head! He cried in horror. His dog Trotty howled and fled in terror. The woman stopped down to pick up her head, and Gabriel took off running too. The woman chased after him, holding her head in his hands. holding her head in her hands. He could hear the footsteps behind him. She was gaining on him. Then she looked down and noticed something rolling alongside him. It was the severed head. With a ghastly laugh, the head rolled out in front of him and tried to keep up with him. Gabriel managed to jump over it. He could hear the head slap, running footsteps behind him. Then the head sprang and sunk into his ankle. Gabriel screamed in pain. "Oh my God!" He shook the head off. Oh my God. He started to run faster, but the woman's body and her head stayed hot on his trail. The head sprang and sank into his other leg. He let out another scream and kicked the head away. And just then, Gabriel came to a small stream. With a mighty effort, he leaped across the stream and did not look back until he got home. His dog Trotty was waiting at the house when he returned. Gabriel looked back in the darkness, but the headless woman and the severed head were gone. Sorry, I pretty much made that not scary at all. Wow, we jumped up to 33 people in the house. Thank you guys. Pretty awesome of you. Beth Plant's in the house. Welcome. All right. Wow, 42 likes. You guys rock. Woo! Joseph was running down the street, but he had no idea why. His heart was racing, and all he could hear was the heartbeat of his own ears. He could hear his heartbeat in his ears as he ran down the cobblestone street. Why was he dreaming, or was he awake? Was this really happening, or was this just a nightmare? He wasn't sure. It was the night sky, and it was pitch black. Only one light was coming from the street lamps, which illuminated the deserted and unfamiliar streets. He did not recognize any of these streets. He did not know where he was, but he kept on running. He didn't remember where he had come from, and he had no idea where he was going. He just knew he had to run. Something was after him. Something terrible. Something unthinkable. He had to get away. If it was a dream, then why wouldn't he wake up? If it was a dream, why was he still here, and how did he get there? He had just turned the corner and saw that there was a man standing at the end of the street, so Joseph ran up to him and asked him for help. The man turned around and grinned. His grin became wider and wider, revealing a set of razor-sharp teeth. They almost looked like shark teeth. And when Joseph noticed his eyes, they were completely cold and black, cold and dead like the eyes of a shark. Joseph began to once again run. He ran up down the street, one after another. He came to a dead end and quickly turned around in the opposite direction. He looked over his shoulder, worried that the man with the teeth was following him. Just then he bumped into somebody. He looked up and saw that it was a policeman. With a sigh of relief, Joseph asked the policeman for help. The policeman turned around and grinned. His face and his grin became wider and wider, revealing a set of razor-sharp teeth. They looked almost like shark teeth, and that's when Joseph noticed his eyes. They were completely black and cold and dead like the eyes of a shark. Joseph ran. I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to run from the police, but in this exception, I would probably do that. He ran through an alleyway and jumped over a gate. He ran down the narrow road and came to a darkened street. He realized that the street had looked familiar. He had been here before. He was sure of it. He lived near here. As he ran, he could see his house up ahead. Joseph awoke with a scream. He realized that he was back in his own bed. All it had been was a dream. His heart was beating fast, and he broke out in a cold sweat. But he was relieved to be home, safe and sound, in his own bedroom. His parents walked into the room with a look of concern on their faces. "What is wrong?" his mother asked. "I had a nightmare," Joseph replied. "What happened?" "I kept seeing people with shark teeth, and I ran away." His mother and father grinned. Their grins became wider and wider, revealing a set of razor-sharp teeth. They almost looked like shark teeth. And when Joseph noticed their eyes were completely black and cold, like the dead eyes of a shark. "Why do you keep running away?" his mother said. "You know you can't escape," said his father. Baby shark, do-do-do-do-do. Baby shark, do-do-do-do-do. Baby shark. Daddy shark, do-do-do-do-do. No, I'm just playing. Trying to make this entertaining. I swear that felt... I swear, right? Oh, I know, right? Oh boy, the baby shark. Why creepy, especially the baby shark song. Oh, I just lost like 6 people from singing the baby shark song. I'm sorry, guys. Oh, Lord. Sorry, that song got immediately trapped in my head. Woohoo, we made it over 100 views so far on this live stream. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. This is pretty awesome, guys. I do like this new layout. It's pretty awesome. I just don't know why my stream had bumped twice. So that was kind of strange. But it hasn't done so since, so I'm happy about that. I think I fixed the situation. Oh, there we go. I got somebody started. Okay. Was it bad the way I like it? Right? Aaron Kelly was dead. There was nothing anybody could do about it. And to tell you the truth, nobody was much cared. Aaron had been so mean and unpleasant in his life that folks were glad to see him go. Even his widow never shed a tear. She just bought a coffin, put Aaron in it, and buried him. But that night, Aaron got out of his grave and came home. His family was sitting around the fire when he walked in, looking dusty, dirty, and disheveled. He took a seat next to his window and said, "What's all this about? You're acting like someone's dead. Who's dead?" His widow looked at him and said, "Oh my God." "Damn it, woman. I asked you who's dead." You are," his widow said, shaking like a cold dog in a wet sack. "Me? Dead? I don't feel dead. I feel fine." "I don't care how you feel. You look dead. You better get back to the grave where you belong." "No," said Aaron. "I'm not going back to the grave until I feel dead." "Oh my God. How long can a corpse last?" "Not long," said her brother. "Not in this hot weather. He won't last long." Yet, despite the widow and the weather and the heat and the rain and all, Aaron just kept lasting and lasting. All he did was sun up to sundown sit by the fire, rocking in his chair, warming his hands and feet, but his joints were dry and his back was stiff. Every time he moved, he cracked and cracked like a dead tree in the wind. His widow wouldn't collect his life insurance because Aaron swore to God that he wasn't dead. He couldn't pay, and she couldn't pay for the coffin because she didn't get the insurance. And the undertaker said that he was going to take back the coffin because it wasn't paid for. The widow told all this to Aaron, but Aaron didn't care. "Don't you miss me?" he asked. "Miss you? How am I gonna miss you? I ain't even had a chance to miss you yet. You ain't gone." One night the best fiddler came into town to court the widow. He had heard that Aaron was dead and wanted to marry her. He sat on the side of the fire that Aaron sat on, and Aaron sat on the other, stretching his arms and legs, each time cracking and crunching his bones. By this time, he was so dried out he was little more than just a skeleton. "I'm wore out listening to this creak and crack," the fiddler said. "Something ought to be done." "How long do you think we could put up with this dead corpse?" the widow asked. "How long do you think until he molders? How long do you think he can sit in this fire? You, him, me." Aaron stretched himself out. "This isn't very jolly. Let's be jolly. Let's dance." The fiddler got out his fiddle and began to play. Aaron stretched himself out, shook himself, and got up. Took a step or two and began to dance a jig, with his old bones rattling and his yellow teeth snapping and his bald head waggling, his arms flopping, and around the room he went. The fiddler played, and Aaron began to dance. Up and down the floor he danced. With the long legs cracking and his knee bones knocking, he skipped and pranced around the room. How that dead man danced. But pretty soon a bone came loose and he fell to the floor. "My golly, look at that." "Play more. Faster, faster," said the widow. The fiddler played faster. Crickety-crack. Down the back, the dead man went hopping. Every time he jumped and cracked, every time he cracked, another dry bone dropped on the floor. This way that the pieces just kept dropping. "Play, man, play," cried the widow. The fiddler played faster. Dead man Aaron danced around, and bones kept dropping all at once. Aaron crumbled and fell apart, and his rib bones rolled on the floor, and dead Aaron lay, just a heap of bones on the floor. All that was left was his bald head bone that danced by itself in the middle of the floor, grinning at the fiddler and cracking his teeth. That head kept dancing, bop, bop, bop. "Oh, sweet Lord, look at that," said the fiddler. "Play louder," said the widow. "Ho, ho," said the head bone. Ain't we having fun?" The fiddler couldn't stand it anymore. The widow said, "I gotta go," and left the house and never came back. The family gathered the bones and put them back in the grave. They were careful to mix them up and lay them all crisscrossing and unjointed so Aaron couldn't fit them back together again. After that, dead Aaron didn't get up and out of his grave, but his widow stayed a widow from that day and never got married again. That dancing skeleton and his dead head spoiled the romance. So I hope you guys enjoyed that story. I don't think I've read that one on here before. A couple of these I have. Sorry, I'm going to refill my e-cigarette. Sorry, Sharp. Oh, man. Let me start my 10-part apology, James. I hope you folks are enjoying the stream. This layout's pretty cool. I feel like I'm sitting at the table with all the women and a male at a strip club. Right, dramas? Oh, man. Beck had to pick up some of the had to pick up the kids. He came off his scooter. Oh, no. Is he okay? All right. This next one is called Just Delicious. Sorry, I gotta clear this vape smoke out of the way so it doesn't set off the alarm. There was a man who loved to eat. Every day he went home at noon to eat lunch with his wife. But the man was not a good husband. He was mean and bad-tempered and an overbearing bully. His wife was afraid of him. She was a shy and timid woman who did everything he asked. But if she didn't, he would often beat her. Okay. That's good. One day, on his way home from lunch, the man stopped at the butcher shop and bought a pound of liver. He gave it to his wife and told the cook to cook it for dinner that night. His wife had prepared the pasta for lunch. He sat down and ate. Hey, Ronnie, how's it going? Welcome. While the man ate his lunch, his wife told him that the rich old woman in town had died and her body had been brought to the church next door. The man was not interested in what she had to say. He was enjoying a plate of ravioli and washed it down with a nice glass of wine. He did not want to stop eating long enough to tell her to shut up. Finally, he said, "Enough. I gotta go back to work." That evening, the wife began to prepare for dinner. She seasoned the liver and slowly cooked it with a pot of vegetables and broth. After a while, she lifted off the lid and the liver looked like it was done. She cut off a small piece and popped it into her mouth. It was delicious. The flavors were rich and vibrant. She thought it was the best meal she had ever made. She tasted another piece and another and another. It was so good, she couldn't stop herself. Just before she knew it, the pot was empty. She realized that her husband was going to be in the panic. He was coming home soon. And what would he do? Out that she had eaten all the liver. He was not the type of man that would understand. He would be very angry and remembered the beatings that he had given to her once before. She did not want to face that again. But where could she get another piece of that liver later in the day? It was just then that she remembered the rich woman who was laying alone in the church next door, laying in an open coffin, waiting to be buried. After finishing his meal, the husband got up from the table and patted his belly and said, "Man, honey, that was delicious." He had never had a better dinner. The salad with the drizzle of olive oil and just the amount of garlic and vinegar and the fresh garlic bread and tastiest, most tender liver that he had ever happened to eat. He looked at his wife. "Aren't you going to have some?" he asked. "I'm not hungry. You finish it." That night they went to bed. The man had fallen asleep, but his wife was laying in the darkness, unable to close her eyes. All she could think about is what she had done. And just then she heard a voice in the distance. "My liver. Who has my liver?" It sounded like the voice of an old woman. gradually got closer and closer. I want my liver. Who has my liver? The wife listened. Was it just her imagination, or was she dreaming? And then came again and again, piercing and terrible. Give me back my liver, it said. Give me back my liver. No, 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 I don't have it. I don't have your liver. Now the voice was right next to her. Who has my liver? It asked. Who has my liver? The wife was trembling in fear. She pointed to her husband. He does. Suddenly the wife awoke in a cold sweat. She barely could breathe. She suddenly couldn't stand the strain any longer. She shook her husband and woke up and confessed everything. She told him how she had eaten the liver that he had bought, and told her how she crept into the church next door, and how she split open the belly of the corpse and cut out the liver and brought it to cook at the home. The description was so vivid that the husband could almost seeing it happen just before his eyes. As he listened, he grew more and more angry. Then she told him about the ghostly voice, and she had heard it growing even more fearful. The man was terrified of ghosts. I'm the one who ate your liver, said the man. That means she will be coming for me first to wreak her vengeance. He got out of bed, went downstairs. His wife sat in bed wondering what he was going to do. A few moments later, he heard his footsteps coming up the stairs again. He appeared in the doorway. He was holding a knife. She screamed and screamed. Later that night, the husband crept into the church next door. He approached the open coffin and placed the new liver in the belly of the corpse. Then he went home and climbed to bed. His sleep was never disturbed again. And nobody ever saw his wife. Hope you guys enjoyed that story. It's a pretty nasty story, actually. It's kind of disgusting, more than scary. Who just goes, I ate all the liver. Let's go to the church next door and pull the liver out of a dead woman and cook it for my husband. God, what was her thinking? And to have the audacity to watch him eat it? Ugh, I mean, come on. Once upon a... Actually, no, I'm not going to do that. Not good. Every bad story starts with, once upon a time, there was a man who inherited a house from his uncle that had died. The house had sat on top of a old hill. There was once a man who inherited a house when his uncle died. The house sat on a hill outside of the town and rumored that the old place was haunted. The man decided to move in straight away, despite his reservations. But late that night, the phone rang, and when it answered, a creepy voice said, I am the Viper. I'll be there in 2 hours. And then it hung up before he could say anything. Not long afterward, the phone rang again and said, I am the Viper. I'll be there in 20 minutes. This made the man quite nervous, and he began to wonder who the mysterious caller could be. Before he knew it, the man rang again. I am the Viper! I'll be there in 10 minutes. The man was getting more and more concerned now. A few moments later, the phone rang. I am the Viper. I'll be there in 5 minutes. Needless to say, the man began to panic, and again the phone rang. I am the Viper. I'll be there in 1 minute, said the voice. The man ran and locked all the doors and windows and called the police. They were told that officers were on their way. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Shaking in fear, the man opened and cracked. Is that the police? No, I am the Viper. I come every night to fashion wipe your windows. Where should I start? Diary. Oh. Oh my gosh. Oh, thank you, Will the Rocker. I appreciate it, buddy. That story, man. I am the Viper, and I'm here to wash your windows. Did you get that now? I should have done it in the count voice. I am the Viper. I've come here to wipe and wash your windows. Where should I start? Yeah, I know. It was a bad story. Moist Viper. Oh, shit. Oh, man. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Oh my god, y'all are killing me tonight. You guys are hilarious. Children of the night, I am here to wash your windows. I am the Viper. Just fine. I should have done it in that voice. I am the Viper. I will be here in 1 minute. Lonely old woman. ... Exactly. More moist stories, please. Oh my god. Mo! It's my boy Fatouche in the chat. What is up, buddy? How you doing? Guys, this is my buddy and my coworker Mo V is in the chat. Guys, give him a warm welcome. He is an awesome person. Unless he's sneaking up behind me with a X3 and slamming on the horn. Scares me half to death. But that is my buddy Mo. We call him Fatouche. The Viper had the V10 with 300 horsepower. Yeah. He's going to know how sexy you are now, John. Yes. Great night back at you, sir. Much love, bro. Much love, much love, Mo. Mo's awesome, guys. Yep, give him a big old round of applause for joining. This is cool. I like interacting with my followers here on YouTube. It's pretty cool. Yeah, what's up, everybody? I'm surprised Mo wants to actually have to see me again. I ask him questions all the time. No, but he's a badass at his job, so shout out to my boy Mo Fatouche. Colleen Paranormal. Yes, I do know Colleen Paranormal. Wasn't she in here earlier, or what's going on with her? How did Diary clap one-handed? My house is actually haunted. It was built in 1931. I was hoping to catch some footage during the storm on my camera. That's pretty sweet. So, this one is called The Guests. A young man and his wife were on a trip to visit his mother. Usually they arrived in time for supper. They had gotten a late start, and now it was getting dark. They decided to look for a place to stay overnight, so they could go on in the morning. Just off of the road, they saw a small house in the woods. Maybe they rent rooms, the wife said. So they stopped to ask. An elderly man and a woman came to the door. They didn't rent rooms, they said, but they were glad to have them stay overnight as their guests. They had plenty of room. They would enjoy the company. The old woman made some coffee, brought some cake, and the four of them had a talk for a while. The young couple were taken into their room. They explained that they wanted to pay for this, but the old man would not accept any money. It cut out again? So weird. What is going on with my computer tonight? The young couple had gotten up early the next morning before their hosts had awakened. On a table near the door, they left an envelope with some money in the room. They went into the next town. They stopped at a restaurant and had some breakfast. They told the owner where they had stayed. He was shocked. That can't be, he said. The house burned down 10 years ago. The old man and woman who had lived there died in the fire. Hey, King LM just subscribed. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Let's see. The young couple could not believe it, so they went back to the house. Only now there was no house. It was a burnt-out shell of a home. They stood staring at the ruins, trying to understand what had happened. The woman started screaming. In the rubble, there was a badly burned table, and on the table was the envelope that they had left there in the morning. Wow. That's pretty trippy. It's cool to actually get some subscribers off the live streams. It's pretty awesome that this is finally starting to work out. Good night, Divine. Hey, Lisa Dawson's in the house. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining. It's so cool to meet so many awesome people from all over the world. Sorry, some more people are joining the new Facebook FAMZ page. And, just wanted to welcome everybody. There we go. Check Twitter. Looks like all my tweets are updated. Yes, you are, James. I am the only one awake in this house unless I keep laughing like this. Hey, Mary, how's it going? Oh, wow. Diary is indisposed at the moment. Oh, Lord. Okay. Let's see. This one is a short story. A man and his wife went to the funeral parlor to see her husband's corpse. When they saw him laying in the coffin in a blue suit, she began to cry. The undertaker felt sorry for her and asked if there was anything he could do for her. The woman said that when her husband was alive, he always wore a brown suit. The undertaker had put the wrong suit on the corpse. The undertaker apologized to the woman, and he said that he would rectify the mistake immediately. The woman began to sit down on the sofa in the waiting room while the undertaker went to the back room. A few months later, he came out and told her that he had finished. When she went into the back room, she saw that her husband was laying out peacefully in the coffin wearing his favorite brown suit. Now he looks just the way he did when he was alive. Now he looks just the way he did when he was alive, she said. But how did you change it so quickly? It was no trouble. I accidentally put your husband's sit on an the person who wrote this has really bad grammar. It was no trouble, said the undertaker. I accidentally put your husband's suit on another corpse. I just switched the heads. Now, I think there's something illegal going on there. And why would somebody just openly admit to that? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? That's not cool. James, what are you talking about? No, these stories are actually from a website called scaryforkids.com. It's the one that I've been using since the very beginning of my channel. It's a lot of these stories from scary ghost stories scary stories to tell in the dark. Why, Paige? What's going on? But if you guys have some scary stories, you can submit them to the FAMZ page and I'll make sure to read them out loud. Let me grab the link for the FAMZ page. That way, if you guys want to join, right now we have 152 members, and that's in the first almost less than 3 days of getting, it's gotten that big, which is awesome. Let's see. My first friend. Oh, whoa. My first friend died. He was a very good friend of mine. Oh, I'm so sorry, Paige. That's no fun. I'm so sorry. Yeah, if you guys have Facebook, you guys can join the new FAMZ page, which is pretty awesome. It gives you updates and allows you to also post your videos and your content and share it around. It's the HSFL FAMZ page, and I'm posting the link here. Keep growing that. It's pretty sweet. Paige, I've lost a lot of friends in the last couple of years, so I totally know how that feels. When I lost my good friend Kevin, it was very hard on me. I was depressed for about 6.5 months. Thank you, Sharpshooter. I appreciate it, bro. Yeah, there's an all-new FAMZ page, guys. There it is. Go check it out. It's pretty awesome. Been trying to promote it like crazy. $154 members now. Woohoo! Awesome. Yeah, I want to grow this to 1,000 members. I will hope to grow it pretty fast to 1,000 members. I definitely think it has the capability of rapidly growing the more people visit it, and creating some pretty awesome stuff on that page. So, and it helps you to grow too. So if you're a YouTuber and you want to promote your videos, you feel free to do that as well. Got a pretty active group of people posting stuff about their channels. I post some comedy things on there, updates about the channel. Let's see who just joined. Cynthia Downs and Jimmy Basinger. Jimmy is a longtime friend of mine, awesome friend. He grew up with, he's kind of my mentor, really. So that's really cool that Jimmy joined. I just call him Jim Basinger. He's one of my good friends. It's awesome so many new people are joining. I don't know, sometimes, there it goes. Awesome. Yeah, just joined, been watching for a little bit. Awesome sauce. I lost so many friends. I have a standing ovation at a funeral home up and down the East Coast. Never easy. Yep. What's going on too? I don't know. James, you're silly. Girl was Aubrey. So sorry you lost your friend Aubrey. That's no fun. So this one is called The Scarecrow. There was an old farmer who once owned the best farm in the area. Everybody said his crops were the best, and people came from all over to buy goods from him. Especially whenever people would ask him how he's able to grow such good quality products, this farmer would say it was all down to his scarecrow. That scarecrow is one I have to thank, said the farmer. He makes sure no crows or critters or pests get near my crops. The old farmer built the scarecrow himself. It was a fearful sight. He spent months working on it to make it look as scary as possible. He knew how important it was to keep the pests away from his crops. He gave it enormous straw arms and stretched it about 6 feet long, and his big, long legs made him as tall as a tree. But the scariest thing about the scarecrow was his head. The farmer had carved it himself out of a huge pumpkin. He spent countless days and nights perfecting his design until it was perfect. The scarecrow's face was so grotesque and ugly that he was sometimes too scared to look at it himself. But it was so effective at scaring away every rodent and bird that ventured near. The neighbor's farm, owned by 2 young men, were brothers named Josh and Harold. They were lazy and did not do much work on their farm, and resulted in their crops becoming bad. They were jealous of the old farmer's success and were plotting against him. If they could drive him out of business, they would take over his farm and make more money. So one night, the farming brothers decided to sneak into the old farmer's land. They stole the prized scarecrow and brought it back to their own house, where they stuffed it into an old closet so nobody could ever find it. The next day, the farmer woke up to find his hideous scarecrow missing and all of his crops being eaten by rats and crows. He fell to his knees and cried, knowing that his farm would soon be out of business. Meanwhile, the brothers Josh and Harold were watching from their own property, and they couldn't stop from laughing out loud when they saw the old man's tears of grief. Hearing the laughter, the old man came over and asked if they knew what happened to the scarecrow. The brothers looked at him right in the eye and said they had no idea where the precious scarecrow might have been. But I'll go out of business and have to sell my farm if I can't find my scarecrow, said the farmer. Josh just laughed in his face. That's just your tough luck, isn't it? Sucks to be you, giggled Harold. The old farmer walked slowly back to his house, head hanging in defeat and depression. That night, Josh and Harold had a hard time sleeping, not because they had any remorse, but they couldn't get the image of the scarecrow's horrible, twisted face out of their minds. They decided they would never be able to sleep as long as that ugly pumpkin head was still in their house. They got it up and dragged the scarecrow out of the closet. Harold took a baseball bat and smashed the scarecrow's head into pieces until all that was left is bits of pumpkin strewn through the floor. Let's see. The brothers swept up the pumpkin head and pieces and threw them into the trash. Then they went back to the bed and were soon fast asleep. Having put all the thoughts of the disgusting scarecrow face out of their heads. Sometime after midnight, Josh and Harold were awoke to the sounds of scratching and clawing at the bedroom door. "Did you forget to put the dog out?" said Harold sleepily. "We don't have a dog," said Josh. Suddenly, the bedroom door burst open. Solitary, strong-armed man snaked through the opening. Then a second arm thrashed around, following the 2 long stick legs. The brothers were frozen in fear and could not could not only look in horror as the headless scarecrow body rose up on its stick legs and its arms reached out for them in the darkness. Harold felt a swinny straw claw closed around his neck, and he screamed as loud as he could. He begged his brother Josh to help him, but Josh was already running out of the room, fleeing in terror. He ran down the hallway and crashed through the front door and onto the moonlit road. As his legs could carry him, huffing and panting and screaming at the top of his voice, he passed his neighbor's house. He saw the old farmer standing at his gate. In the moonlight, he could see the farmer staring at him with a smile on his face. Josh kept running, his bare feet slapping against the gravel road. He noticed back over his shoulder that scared him to his very soul. He saw the scarecrow running along the road behind him. He was gaining on him. The closer and closer he became, and that wasn't all he saw. He noticed the scarecrow had a brand new head, and it looked like Harold. Well, it's a virtual green screen. I actually don't have the adequate room in here to have a full-on green screen until I can figure out a solution to frame it with the perimeters of this room. It's often too small to hang anything. So I'm going to have to find a thing that works. I'll eventually get that fixed, but for now I can't. So I have the virtual green screen. Oh, wow. Getting a lot of responses on the new page. Awesome. Whoa. Spank? Hey, everybody. My name's Kermit the Frog. I wanna be your friend. Just playing. Hey, Miss Pingy. Yeah, my bad voice impressions. But yeah, we got about, I would say, 20 more minutes left on this stream, guys. I'm getting pretty tired. It's been a long week for me. I'm going to share this out real quick just to see if we can get some more people rolling in here. Thank you, everybody who shared this out. That's awesome. John, just get 3 cases of green spray paint and paint everything. Go right. Sorry. I'm just a goofball. Crate, please don't put that in my chat. I'm gonna please ask you to remove that, or I will. Please be respectful of my streams. Thank you. Alright, so just because that YouTube is gonna be really smashing on people that are they're going to be really smashing on people who put inappropriate things in people's chats. So just a heads up, I just got a notification today from YouTube saying they're going to be cracking down on what you can say in people's live streams. So there it is. Oh, I mean, it's far from being a Christian. Well, I am Christian myself, but I'm kind of unorthodox the way I do my side. I still like to have fun, okay? No, not everybody. I was just making a comment. But anyways, let me get the link shared real quick. Share this over here. See if anybody else wants to just join in the chat. Got 16 people watching right now. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. You guys want to crack down? Yeah. Yeah, just watch out for like inappropriate sexual words. There's gonna be like certain keywords like dick, one of those things that is gonna be flagged by YouTube. There's a lot of stuff they're gonna be cracking down on, like profanities in people's chats. They will actually start demonetizing channels that allow profanity in the chat. So just a heads up. Alright, Mary, thank you so much for joining. Yeah, I really appreciate everybody for coming on. This has been a really cool stream. It's been a really cool test to make sure the software is working to where it needs to be. And I'm not bitching at anybody in particular. I'm just saying generally, like, YouTube's going to be really starting to crack down on certain people. Yeah, pretty much. YouTube has not. YouTube is not YouTube anymore. It's their tube, and what they say goes, including the people that have pretty much made YouTube what it is. They don't care anymore. I mean, I'm monetized. I've been monetized for almost a year, and it's like I have to watch everything I say, do, and I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, it's nuts. Like I mean, some channels, they don't give a crap, but I do try to give a crap as much as I can, and protect my channel. Try not to have my streams demonetized. Yeah, it's just YouTube can be a finicky beast for sure. So I was just checking on my analytics. I'm glad to see the new videos still getting a lot of views. I'm over 250 views on the new video, and it's only been out for a couple days. Since Halloween when it was released, so I'm really proud of that. This world has no humor anymore, and it sucks. Yeah, I don't like vaping either. Like, if I could not vape, I would, but I have an addiction to nicotine, so unfortunately, one of these days I'll finally quit, but Yeah, YouTube's gotten... I mean, I remember a couple of years ago, like, I started... My first YouTube channel ever was back in 2000 and... God dang it, what was it? 2008? 2009? And it was just a collection of, like, me going to different car shows with my grandfather and video games that I filmed horribly. And I actually had gotten a couple 100,000 views on that old channel, which I have no longer have access to. But yeah. Yeah, I'm really proud of the new video, guys. I worked really hard on putting that video together. It's the longest 4K production I've ever put together. That video was just under 20 gigabytes to download that to YouTube. But it did turn out great. The investigation was awesome. I owe a lot of credit to Irish Whiskey and to Herman the Great for joining me on that trip. Yeah, be careful of the word retard, too. That's another one of those trigger words. Guys, please be respectful in the chat. That's all I ask. That could affect somebody. So, just a heads up. Yeah, that new video... And I really want to say I'm sorry for taking so long with that. I filmed that back in July and I didn't release it until the end of October. The new job has had me completely booked out and not able to put a lot of videos together. So it took a lot of time to put a 4K production like that and get all the necessary clips together to produce that full video. And I've torture tested this computer with all of that content, and now I'm doing that with the new David Omen video. So it's going to be the whole Omen House investigation coming up next. I'm going to crank it out tomorrow. And yeah, so yeah, the Herman the Great was in my latest video. Oh, wow. That's crazy. What? You had 70,000 subscribers? Wow. That sucks. Oh, man. Yeah, I did a video with Herman the Great. Oh, God. It took me a couple of weeks to put that video together. Oh, yeah, I heard that happen. So we took that one video, started this channel, and it now has 566,000 views, so it's all good. Wow, Simple Joys, that's awesome. Well, if you want to share my channel out, no, it's fine. I'm just kidding. Oh yeah, I still gotta put out that video too, the Santa Maria Inn. So that's gonna be my second video after the David Omen house that goes on to the Haunted Hotel series. That was the Santa Maria Inn is gonna be with Joe and Irish Whiskey. You see Irish Whiskey joining me on a lot of my investigations because he lives not that far away from me, and me and him often have the same days off. Oh, nice. I'm glad to see that. Yeah, I did see a notification from Cab7, so I'm glad he got his channel back up. So, that's pretty cool. Thank you so much, guys, for the 20 people watching. You guys rock. As always. Let's see. Thank you so much for the 54 likes. I do appreciate that too. You said, Joe, I thought of Urban Ghost Urban Exploration. No. I've actually talked to Joe a couple times, but I talked to Patty more than I talked to Joe from Urban Ghost Urban Exploration. But I've talked to Joe, I've talked to Patty, Heather. So eventually, Heather and I would love to do a trip with Heather and Patty and go venture around Florida. Also hope to one day meet Omar Gosh and James the Fam. That'd be really cool. And Lou Rock, of course, because I haven't had the chance to meet with him. So that's definitely something on my list, is definitely to work with at least Lou in the next coming months or something like that, and me to fly out to Massachusetts or something. So I don't know, we're gonna put some plans together, so it'll be pretty cool. Yeah, Patty is the paranormal queen for sure. She drops into the chats quite often. James just posted the link for my new video, guys. Why don't you go ahead and click on that? And Beth, you with Joe from Urban Ghost Urban Exploration. No, this is with Joe from Presence of the Unknown. Love to meet you too, Beth. That'd be awesome. So thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. I'm sorry it wasn't a longer stream, but I will be working on the new video tomorrow. So there's going to be a new video coming out. It's going to be the Omen House investigation. So get ready, guys. It's going to be epic. Just give me another week or so to get that out, and then I'll premiere that one as well. I don't know if it's going to be a week or 2 weeks. But I'm going to try to get it out in November before my next traveling. So there's going to be a lot more traveling coming up here soon. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Take care and keep it spooky, my friends. Cheers and have a great night.